Hey guys, it's Shelby from Big Cat Creative, and in this video, we are going to talk all about uploading your own custom fonts to your Squarespace website. So, I'll be honest, Squarespace does already come with a huge built in selection of beautiful and completely free fonts that are available for you to use on your website, and we love them for that. But are they going to have that stunning and unique font that you purchased from Creative Market or downloaded from another third party platform and then used throughout your entire brand identity? Probably not. So that leaves you with a few different options. You can either choose to just use a different font on your website and hope that people don't notice the inconsistency. You can create graphics using that custom brand font and then upload those as an image every time you want to use the font on your website. Or you can go ahead and just upload your custom brand font directly to your Squarespace site and use it wherever you want, whenever you want throughout your website. Obviously, that last option is the clear winner here. So let's go ahead and get into exactly how you can upload your custom font directly to Squarespace and how you can customize with it. Now, I do have just a couple of disclaimers. First, this tutorial does involve a little bit of coding, but don't worry, it's really just a copy and paste method, so it's super easy to grasp. And second, you do need to make sure that before you implement this process, you have the correct licensing on your font so that you are legally able to use it on your website. And if you can't find those licensing details, it's usually always best to just send an email to the platform or the font creator so that you're safe and you don't get in trouble. It's always better to be safe than sorry. We love Creative Market for finding custom fonts, not just because they have a massive library of fonts. You can find any style or aesthetic that you could possibly think of. And there are literally hundreds of fonts under every single category for all different ranges of pricing. And the best thing about Creative Market is that they also clearly show you all of the different licensing options right on the product page so that you know exactly what you need to add on depending on what you want to use the font for. For example, you can see over here to the right all of the different options. There's desktop, web font, etc. And you can just hover over the little question mark if you're not totally sure what that's used for to make sure that it's covering the things that you'll need it for. Adobe Fonts is also a really great font option for people who have a subscription to the Adobe Creative Cloud. They have another massive library of custom fonts that you can go ahead and browse through. You can filter over here on the left-hand side and even add in your own sample text if you want to see what the font looks like in exactly what it is that you'll be writing. And another one of our favorites is, of course, trusty Google Fonts, which is completely free to download fonts from. And again, they have a huge library. You can filter over here on the left to get exactly what you're looking for. And this is just a really great option if you're looking for something custom, but for free. Okay, now let's go ahead and dive into what you are all waiting for, which is adding your custom font to your website. So the first step in this process is to prepare your font files for web use. When you download your font originally, it's most likely going to come in either a .ttf or a .otf format. And sometimes it comes with both. It's going to look something like this, the name of your font .otf or .ttf, and you only need one of those. So if you have one of those, that's great. You're almost there. That's almost all that you need. But if you want to be super prepared and smart about things, there are a couple of other file types that would be good to have just to ensure that your font is completely compatible over a range of different browsers. Ideally, you'll have either a .ttf or .otf. Again, you only need one of those, plus a .waf and a .waf2. Now, don't worry, that might sound like gibberish, but it's really easy to get these file types using FontSquirrel. You can navigate to fontsquirrel.com/tools/webfont-generator, and the link to this page will also be in the blog post for this video, which will be linked in the description below. So definitely just go ahead and check that out to click the link and access this web font generator. Once you're here, you'll just go ahead and upload your .otf or .ttf file, whichever one you have. Make sure that the agreement is checked, and then you'll be able to download your kit. And it's going to go ahead and give you that .waf and .waf2 file for you. And it's as easy as that. All you have to do from there is download, save those somewhere safe to your computer, and keep them for the next step. Once you have those 3 font files saved to your computer, you'll want to go ahead and jump back into your website so that you can actually upload them into Squarespace. This step is super easy, but there are some tiny differences between Squarespace 7.1 and Squarespace 7.0. So I have both websites pulled up so that I can just go back and forth and show you in both platforms. First, let's start with 7.1. So you're going to want to access your Pages panel, which you can do by clicking on Pages in your main menu. You'll then scroll to the very bottom of that panel and click on Custom Code and then Custom CSS. You can also always click the / key on your keyboard and type in any page or setting or item that you're looking for and then navigate directly there, which is super useful in Squarespace because they tend to change and switch things up quite a bit within their menu system. So when in doubt, or if you can't find something, just go ahead and click that / key. At the top of your custom CSS window here, you'll see the custom files option. And if you click that, this little pop-up window will appear where you can go ahead and add your font files. And you can only add one at a time, so just go ahead and start pulling those in, and you'll see once they're loaded right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and upload all 3 of my files, and you can see I have that .waf2, .waf, and .otf. To do the same thing in 7.0, you'll again want to access your Pages panel by clicking on Pages in your main menu. Scroll to the bottom of that Pages panel and click on Website Tools and then Custom CSS. And in 7.0, you'll find that Manage Custom Files option at the bottom of your CSS window. So again, go ahead and click on that, and this Add Images or Fonts option will show up. And again, you can go ahead and drag in your font files one at a time, and they will show up here once they are fully downloaded and saved. Alrighty, now that you have your font files uploaded into your Squarespace website, all you need to do is add a little bit of code that is going to allow you to actually use that font anywhere you want on your website. And you're going to just copy and paste the code that's in the blog post, which again will be linked in the description below this video. You'll be able to find all of the pieces of code that you need to complete this process in that blog post. So definitely be sure to check that out. It's literally as easy as copy and paste. So you're just going to want to grab that first piece of code and copy and paste it directly into this custom CSS window. And this is just going to tell Squarespace what your font is, and it's going to give it the font file so that it has something to actually pull from. To customize this piece of code to fit your specific font, you're going to first want to change where it says font name to whatever the name of your specific font is, or whatever you want the font name to be. This is going to be so that you can reference it later and so that your website actually knows what font it's pulling. So make sure that you give it a very clear, specific name that you're going to remember and be able to easily input again and again to customize the fonts throughout your website. So in this case, I'm going to name my font Botanica because that is the name of the font that I uploaded. And then you are going to update all of the font URLs. So you'll do this for each of the 3 file types that you just uploaded, starting with either the .ttf or .otf. And what you'll do is delete the little filler URL that's in there in between the parentheses. Delete that. And then you'll see here that your different file types will show up in this little window. Or you can just, again, click in between the parentheses and then click on that custom files option and click on the specific file that you're looking for. So in this case, we want the botanica.otf. And as soon as I click that, you're not going to see anything right now, but if I click out of that pop-up window, you'll see that that URL was automatically pasted in between those parentheses or brackets. So it's super easy. All you have to do is click and it's pasted. So again, we'll do that for the .waf. I'll go ahead and delete this filler URL. This time I can just click it right here and you'll see it shows up. And then again for the .waf2, click it and there it is. And then be sure to save your new additions. Okay, now as amazing as it would be for that to be it and for all of the fonts around your website to just automatically populate, that's not the case. You still have to assign your font to a specific style throughout your website, and there are two ways that you can do this. One way is using the root element, which is for Squarespace 7.1 only, or you can use specific selectors, which you can do in both 7.1 and 7.0. And we are going to talk about both of those. I'll start by talking about using the root, which again is only for Squarespace 7.1. So if you're using Squarespace 7.0, you can go ahead and skip through to the selectors option. But using the root is probably going to be the quickest and most simple way for you to change your fonts if you're using Squarespace 7.1, so I want to go over that first. Using the root element allows you to customize all of a certain type of text around your website. So for example, all headings or all button types rather than just one specific heading or just one specific element. It's quick and it covers a lot of ground, which we love, and you can also still make more specific customizations using the root, which we'll also get into. So this is just really a great option if you're using 7.1. So you can use the root coding for your headings, your body text, all of your buttons, and then also your miscellaneous text, which is meta. I'm going to go ahead and just copy and paste all of this code into my CSS window just to show you an example of what it all looks like. And again, you can get all of this code from the blog post. So all you have to do is copy and paste and then make some minor adjustments. The biggest one being the font name. So anywhere it says font name, you're going to want to go ahead and input that name that you added earlier. So again, mine is Botanica. So wherever it says font name, I'm going to go ahead and paste in Botanica. And you already see over on the right-hand side, all of my fonts start to change. Obviously, I wouldn't be making them all have this similar font, but just for the sake of the video example, we're going to go ahead and add that in there for everything. And then just to explain a little bit further about the code, you have your root element right here, and then you're telling the code what you want to customize. You have the name of your font, and then you are saying important so that it overrides any other code that it might be finding. You want this to be first and foremost so that your font shows up. Okay, so as you can see, I've added all 4 of those pieces of code to my website, and all of that main text throughout my site has changed. So all of my headings have changed, all of my paragraph text has changed, all of my buttons have changed, everything has changed. That's why this is such a great option for making bulk changes throughout your entire website. All you have to do is add that one piece of code and it's going to change everything for you. And so it's just a one and done method. You don't have to worry about it again. And the cool thing about this code is that you can still go into your site styles and make customizations to the other elements of your text without needing to add any additional pieces of code. So if I head into my site styles by clicking the paintbrush icon and then going to my fonts tab, I'll go into my headings, for example, and I can go to heading 1 and change the size, and you'll see my heading 1 over on the left-hand side changes the size, but the font is staying exactly how I coded it. I can do the same with the weight of the font, the line height, the letter spacing. I can change all of these elements however I want, and that custom font is going to remain. And I can do the same for my paragraph text and my button text. Now I'm going to go ahead and just remove a few of these pieces of code here so that things go back to a little bit of the way that they were before. Now, one thing that you will notice is that even though I have all 4 of these pieces of code in my CSS window over here, there are still a couple of elements that are not changing. For example, this header button up here and my main navigation font. those are the exact same as they were before I added in this code. And that's because those are separate pieces of text that you have to assign styles to separately. The good thing is that it's really simple to customize these individual elements using the root code. All you have to do is just input that code into your custom CSS window. You can do it for your headings, your body, any of these that you want, or all of them, or just one of them, whichever you want to customize your website with. So let's say, for example, I only used the root code to change my body text throughout my website. So all my headings and buttons and everything else is back to a different style of font, and I used my custom font for my paragraph text. But I also want my main navigation to take on the same style as my body text. To do that, what you need to do is keep that root code in your custom CSS window and then head into your site styles. Again, click on the paintbrush icon and then head into the fonts tab. And from here, click on Assign Styles. In this panel, you can then locate any text element throughout your entire website that you want to customize and click on it to access its individual style settings. For this example, we're going to click on Site Navigation, and then I'm going to click on this Style drop-down menu at the very top, and you'll see that it's currently on Custom. But since I want it to take on the properties of my paragraph text and I already set that root code for all of my body text, I'm going to choose paragraph. And you'll notice over here that it automatically takes on that custom font that I set for all of my paragraph text. And again, I can go ahead and customize the size right here and it'll adopt those properties. And I can also go back into my main fonts tab and adjust the style of my paragraph text here, and it will just automatically take on those properties as well. And that method will work the same for the heading code and the miscellaneous code. So if I instead customize my headings using the root code, I would just choose heading, and if I customized my miscellaneous text, I would choose miscellaneous. So that's just a really easy and quick way to assign specific text elements your custom font without having to code in all of those specific selectors, which we are going to jump into next. Okay, now let's get into assigning your font using selectors, which is something that you can do if there is a specific element of your website that can't be customized via the root code, or if you are using Squarespace 7.0, which is what I'm currently in, then this is going to be the method that you'll want to use. So, what are selectors? Selectors are going to target individual categories of text around your website. So, for example, H1 is going to target your heading 1, H2, heading 2, P, paragraph text, and so on. You can stay really general with your selectors, like the ones that I just listed off, or you can get a lot more advanced and specific with your selectors and target different unique elements throughout your website. We are just going to start with the basics though. So to customize specific heading or paragraph text styles throughout your site, you are going to copy and paste this code into your custom CSS window. And again, you can get this code from the blog post that will be linked in the description below this video. Be sure to change where it says font name to your specific font name that you set. And you can see here, I have the heading 1 selector, and my heading 1 over here has changed to my custom font. I can do the same with H2. My heading 2 is going to change, and H3, my heading 3 is going to change. And over in Squarespace 7.1, you can also do H4 for your smallest heading, which is heading 4. I can also change this selector to P, and that is going to change all of my paragraph text that you can see over here. And in Squarespace 7.1, you'll see that P changes all of my paragraph text, just like it does in Squarespace 7.0. But in 7.1, you have a couple of additional paragraph text types or styles. So if I wanted to just target either paragraph 1 or paragraph 3, which are your large and small paragraph styles, I would have to customize this a little bit further. So to target the paragraph 1 style, the selector would be p.sqsrte-large. And you'll notice that my paragraph 1 stays how I just customized it, but all of the other paragraph styles around my website are that previous font that I had. And same goes for my paragraph 3 style. So I just went ahead and changed this to paragraph 3. The selector for that is going to be p.sqsrte-small. And then you'll notice that that changes, but the rest of my paragraph fonts stay the same. So that's just a little bit of a different tweak from 7.0 to 7.1. Now, there are other ways that you can get much more specific and advanced using selectors. We have a whole list on the blog post for selectors in both Squarespace 7.0 and 7.1, but I'll go ahead and just show you a few additional ones in 7.0 since this is the main form of font customization that you'll be using in 7.0. You can customize things like your 3 buttons by copying and pasting this into your custom CSS window. Of course, first step is to always change that font name. And you'll see here I have this selector, SQS-button-element-primary, which in Squarespace 7.0 targets your medium button. So you can see the font there on my medium button has changed. If I wanted to customize the text of my small button, I would change primary to tertiary, and that font goes ahead and changes. And if I wanted to customize my large font, I would change that to secondary. And there goes that customization. You can customize the font titles in your summary blocks. So you can customize these titles right here by copying and pasting this code in there. The selector is .summary-title. I'll go ahead and change the font name. And you can see over here on the right that those titles go ahead and change over to my custom font. Looking great. You can also get even fancier by changing the titles on your blog. So I'm going to head to this blog here and then copy and paste in this code. The selector is .summary-title-link, and I'll go ahead and change the font name to Botanica. Sometimes you have to save and then refresh the page in order for the customization to take effect over on the right-hand side. So go ahead and do that if you aren't seeing your changes come up, but there is that customization there. And then I can also change the font of the title on the actual blog page by changing the selector to H1 blog item title. And again, I'm just going to go ahead and save and then refresh my page. And there you can see that custom font is in there. And again, you can get pretty creative and detailed and specific with these selectors. And also, the selectors aren't always going to be the same on 7.0 and 7.1. And like I said before, we have a list of some selectors that you can try out for both Squarespace 7.0 and 7.1 in the blog post. Okay, and the last thing that I want to show you guys before we wrap things up is creating new selectors using code blocks. So there might be a situation where you don't want your custom font to completely replace one of your existing heading fonts, for example. Maybe you want to upload an extra accent font to complement your existing fonts, but you don't want to replace them. The easiest thing to do in this case would be to literally create your own selector. So, for example, something like H5 or anything else unique that isn't used anywhere else around your website. H5 is a good option because Squarespace doesn't automatically have a heading 5 option built in. So you know that with H5, you're going to be good. So I could do something like H5, font family, and then add in my font name. And then I'll be good to go to do what I'm going to show you next, which is add my new H5 selector with a code block. Because Squarespace doesn't have a heading 5 built in, I'm not going to find it as a normal text option when I'm typing in text via a text block. So I have to instead do it using a code block. So I'm going to go ahead and enter edit mode. I'm currently in Squarespace 7.1, but you can do a similar thing with 7.0. And in just a random section of my website, I'm going to go ahead and add a code block by clicking on add block and then code. Just going to move this down here so we can see it a little bit more clearly. And then from here, you're going to want to just double click into that code block, type in whatever you want in between these two paragraph brackets. And then within these little brackets right here on the front and end of that sentence, I'm going to replace P with H5. And since I already added in that H5 selector code, you can see that my font automatically customizes. So if I save that and exit out, there is my custom H5 text. And all of my other headings throughout my website stay exactly as they are, and I don't have to worry about compromising the font that they're using. Another thing to note with this method is that if you want to change the font settings, so things like the size or line height or letter spacing, you're not going to be able to change those in your site styles because, again, heading 5 isn't an option within Squarespace, so you're not going to find site styles for it. The good news is that you can still change the settings. You'll just have to use a little bit more additional coding in your custom CSS window to achieve the look that you're going for. So for example, where I added that new H5 code in my custom CSS window, I'm just going to go ahead and add a couple of additional styling options. So underneath that first tab, which says my font name, I'm going to go ahead and play around with the size of the font. So I'm going to say font size, and let's see what 20 pixels look like. That's what that looks like. I can go ahead and go larger or smaller, just play around with that number however I want. I can also try things like letter spacing, see what various things look like, and just play around until you find something that you like. Maybe I decide, oh, I don't want to mess with the letter spacing, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. You can customize things like font weight, text transform if you want things to be all lowercase or all uppercase, line height, all different types of settings. And again, I know I'm repetitive, but we have all of these pieces of code in the blog post. So definitely be sure to check that out. It's linked in the description below, and it's going to be so helpful for you to just copy and paste all of these pieces of code into your custom CSS window and just play around with the settings without having to look anything up yourself or know these pieces of code by heart. And guess what? That is all you need to know for uploading your own custom font to your Squarespace website. You now know exactly where to look for custom fonts, how to get them uploaded to your site, and then how to use them to customize all different types of text throughout your website. All it takes is a tiny bit of copy and paste code and some simple tweaks, and you have yourself a super custom, professional grade website, and we love that. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you found it helpful and want others similar to this, be sure to subscribe to our channel. We are always posting new videos, and we'll see you in the next one.